Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of DiabloCast. It is Friday, March 23rd. I am your host, Dennis Force Duhamel. With me this week, Kevin Sixon Carlino. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello.
And Jesse Cox. Welcome back.
Gentlemen.
We missed you, we missed you the week before last because you were moving, which, by the way, how'd that go?
I love LA.
Oh.
It is the capital of the crazy, insane, quite possibly most delusional, narcissistic. It's like people know it's amazing.
I'm jelly. I want to go to LA.
See,
it's amazing.
I heard a bunch of negative qualities, and then I heard you say it was amazing. I don't understand.
Well, it's like they bottled up every horrible person in the world and put them in one place, and like interacting together, it
just works.
It works. Like the other day, I was at lunch, and these two women who their faces said 50, but their breasts said 18. We're sitting there talking about like how they wanted to get like their acting career off the ground again, but they had to take care of their baby. Their baby, by the way,
of course,
were dogs.
Right.
They were dogs.
Of course.
Right?
I feel the same way every time I go to LA. I'm just like, I don't know whether this is awesome or I'm extremely uncomfortable. I can't tell the difference.
but then there's this weird underbelly of like crazy. Like the other day, I'm walking through the mall and there's a woman just sitting in the corner, just like just talking to herself crazily, and I'm just
what happened?
Well, what happened was
about 6 months ago.
Yeah, she was in my place. She just moved here. Now she's like, girl.
See, we don't get those crazy people where I am because it's too cold, and they all die over the winter. So that's why they moved down to Florida and LA, and that's.
Oh my God, it was something.
This place is in Arizona.
That's the truth.
Fortunately.
I think the
funny thing is that there's the homeless people that sit on ASU campus and ask college students for money, and I'm just like, dude, I'm a college student. Do you expect me to have money? And at the same time, I feel like I'm kind of rude because I'm not giving this guy money, and he's begging me for money.
No, he's just, you know what he's buying, right? Porn
obviously, alcohol.
Porn and booze.
I want to point out for the record, and this is something I learned living in New York for several years. I know for a fact that, at least in New York, there's several dudes who are quote-unquote homeless, using air quotes, that make roughly $40,000 a year being homeless on the streets in New York.
Right. Well, I saw this one guy, he had a sign, right? And it was basically, like, I'm homeless, give me money. And then it had his email address. And I'm like, what the hell? This guy's email address?
Well, he doesn't have a home, but he has a smartphone, so.
Right. Yeah, right?
He's all set.
And with that, wireless bill that he can afford.
Oh, those data plans. Today's Diablo news. Jesus Christ.
Right.
Beta invite still going out. Sword of Justice, issue number 3. Monster difficulty in the game. Creation of the D3 opening cinematic. The Nephalem Valor buff. And homeless people on the side of the road. Let's go to the first topic, which is going to be beta invite still going. That was a nice intro, though.
I thought so.
We should divert more often.
Nothing will ever get done.
Beta invites are still going out for anyone who cares. I suppose that's a lot of you. Some people have been saying, I don't care about the beta anymore, just give me the release. But I guess that now that the release date is here, maybe people are more excited to try out the beta beforehand. So Bashiok stated that we'll be continuing to invite people into the beta. As far as who, what regions, or how many, that's information we don't release beforehand, but beta invites will still be going out, so, the opt-in program, not sure if they're going to be doing additional key waves. I think I remember them talking to us about, a whole bunch of the fan sites and everything got keys, obviously, to give away not too long ago. I think they mentioned the possibility of this happening again. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but this isn't anything sure. I'm not saying for certain there's going to be another wave, but I think that they mentioned that there's a possibility of more keys also being given out from fan sites. It's not guaranteed at all. They couldn't even tell us for sure, but just so that you know, if you're not in the beta and you still really wanted to try the game before release, there is still a chance, and I don't think that they're going to do like a pre-order get in early like they did with the SC2 beta. I really don't. I think they've specifically said they're not going to, but I don't know. There's also, I guess, a slight possibility of that happening as well.
I actually got some keys because I didn't get any for the first 2 rounds is what it was.
Right.
Because they did the major sites was you and Diablo fans and all them, and then they had 150 for D3 Sank or whatever and whatever, and then I ended up getting a couple keys after that fan site roundtable.
Yeah.
Not a couple. I got 50 keys. So
Do
I'll be
you have
doing
any
something
plans with that? Is that coming up?
relatively soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Within the next couple 2 weeks or so.
See, that's almost bad that you say that because now people are going to be like, Kevin has keys and he's not giving them to anybody yet.
Yeah, I'm a horrible person.
They're going to be
What can I
so
say?
angry. So angry. But yeah, beta keys are still going out. Speaking of betas, Mr. Pandaria beta, I don't know if we're allowed to even talk about that here because...
Yeah, I said something about it on Twitter, and somebody was like, "Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. You should lose MVP in the Diablo forums." I'm like, "Well, all right then."
People got so angry on. I guess it's different. Like for you, Jesse, because I know that we talked earlier about how you were streaming the Pandaria beta, and I have to imagine that even though your account name is OMFG Kata and you did extensive Cataclysm coverage, I bet you people still raged on your Pandaria coverage. Did you see anything? Any comments or?
Well, I mean, when we got on, we the first thing we did is we tried to do any 85 plus content, tried to look at stuff that would affect your character that you had, but there's the beta just started, so there's so little actually there.
Yeah. Besides,
the respecking system and a few different changes to your character, but there's also a ton of bugs. Like my shaman my totem bar is gone. I don't know if that was a permanent change they said, but it's really not helpful when you can't cast your totems. So and whenever I try to use my hotkeys, it won't let me because there's nothing there for it to use.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is terrific.
The male monk attack animations for the Pandaria Pandarin were super buggy too. They weren't even working. Auto attack animation was buggy.
Wait, there's an auto attack?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they changed it. They have white damage now. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And so I got Wow Krendor, and he and I were like, well, let's just go and level female monks together. So we went and did some pandas, and we live streamed it. I had a blast. It was so much fun. But it was specifically look, this is just for fun. Don't worry about it. We're just going to play through it and see what's what. Because it is day one, and I know for a fact that by the time the beta's over, they'll change half the stuff in the starting zone.
Sure. Yeah.
They always do. Plus, all the cinematics, except for one, weren't even in. So so when you would get to an area that was a cinematic, it would say something happens. But it'd be like a chat text. We were like, this is awesome.
I had a big announcement across my screen. I ended up doing the full playthrough of the starting Pandarin area, and at the end it says, play video of you taking hot air balloon to Orgrimmar.
Right.
I was like, what?
So that's what people will really want to see later on. So hopefully I can jump on that. But we were just having fun. Well, 2 wonderful things happened when I decided to upload it to YouTube. In my brain, I said, everyone is going to go and upload this stuff. We're going to be saturated with Pandarin starting zones footage by the time this is over. So what I'll do is I'll put it all in one place so people won't have to click through a million videos and make one giant video. So it's 2.5 hours long. I was like, this will be great. 1080p, who won't love this? First things first, I upload it, and YouTube's like, it's going to take 15 hours to process. Yeah, and when it's done processing after 15 hours, we're just going to leave it at 480p. Deal with it.
It's so annoying.
I was like, thanks, YouTube.
It's the worst.
It only took 8 hours to upload, and then it just was, another 12 or so to process. Nothing. Totally wasted my time. Then, because Krendor and I were just running around having fun because it was day one, if the comments weren't about where's HD, bro? The other comments were, oh, what? You're not taking this seriously, and freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, you can't win. You just can't win.
It's too funny. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. What can you do, huh? What can you do? Comic books. You guys like comic books? Do any of you read?
I like comic books.
All right. Well,
especially Diablo ones.
If you like Diablo comic books, Sword of Justice issue number 3 is now currently available. Give you we got a little bit of information here. A horrific plague of madness is spreading throughout the Dreadlands, transforming its victims into bloodthirsty savages. The only hope of stopping the affliction before it consumes mankind may lie with Jacob, a wanted fugitive whose destiny is bound to the Archangel Tyrael's legendary Sword of Justice. Yes, Sword of Justice issue number 3 now available. Pretty cool stuff. I got the first copy from Blizzard when I got the Book of Cain, and I liked it. I don't know. I'm not a huge comic book guy. I never have been, and it seems weird because I'm into trading card games and I'm into video games and everything, and I think like one automatically assumes, well, if you like that stuff, then you like comic books, but it's not. Jesse, are you a comic book dude? Is this your thing here?
There was a period in my life where I was a comic book addict, and spoiler alert, it had to do with being a prepubescent boy and seeing ginormous breasted women on covers of comics. Yeah. And so I was immediately, and at that point it didn't matter. I was just like, once you find one, you're like, I have to have them all. Who knows what will be in these?
Yeah.
So, but honestly, it's been a while. Though I have seen Sword of Justice, I'm more concerned because as a desperate lore nerd, where this fits into the grand story, or if this is just like a one-shot deal where it tells you some background of something else happening in the world. I know. Because I haven't seen number 3,
right.
So I don't know how this ends or where it's going.
Well, I do like it seems because there's 5 total, I believe.
Yeah.
And it seems that these are all going to be on track to release before the game goes live, right? Is that the plan?
I thought only the 4th one was. I didn't know
Really?
the 5th one was
one
going
will
to
be
be out.
after. Yeah, so I do wonder though if any of this is going to play into. I wonder if we'll, that the story's protagonist. I think that's what he is Jacob, like
yes,
the lead character.
He's the good guy.
And so maybe we encounter Jacob at some point. Maybe.
Yes. Eventually, he turns into a werewolf.
Oh.
Is that it?
Did you just spoil something? I don't know because I really don't know.
Well, I mean, and then he fights the vampires.
Oh, right. He turns into a werewolf when he visits Gilneas, right?
Takes off his shirt all the time, and then he fights the vampires,
Yeah,
and then he
Oh man, so much.
does horrible
I'm glad
things
it took.
to
I'm glad.
that one girl's
I'm
daughter.
glad. I'm glad for your street cred that it took you a while to get that joke. Because me, I was like, "Ha, Twilight," and you were like, "What? Gilneas?"
Well, as soon as he said
saved-
takes his shirt off, I was like, "You're talking about that stupid dumbass actor, aren't you?" I hate this so much.
But I mean, to say that someone is connected to Tyrael means that this person has to be important
That's pretty big, yeah.
in some story. So you have to figure some things up. I just don't know if this is going to be like. I mean, honestly, there's only 2 endings here. This is somehow tied to the story, or it's kind of like the Medan storyline in WoW, where they're like, yeah, he exists, but you're never going to see him in the game.
Well, and it could be. I mean, they, companies love to do that parallel story so that they can just expand on the universe. Like this is happening at the same point in time elsewhere. It could.
I mean, I thought that this was supposed to be taking place in between, like the 20 years in between. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I
really don't remember honestly. So I
didn't even read the first one. I just read like a description, and I thought that it was the 20 years in between. And what happens is basically something happens to Tyrael, and he loses his sword, and the sword goes right to this kid, and this kid is the one that picks it up, and it's supposed to have like deep
his
meaning.
sword? Didn't he purposefully lose his sword?
It goes flying after he kills the World Stone.
Yeah,
In
possibly.
Diablo 2. And then basically, like, it doesn't just go flying in the middle of nowhere. Like, it goes right to this kid, and this kid picks it up, and that's why he's important.
Maybe this is to explain how he gets it back. Like
Possibly,
that's what
yeah.
the story is. So if you're a super lore nerd and you see him with his sword in Diablo 3, you're not like, what? No! What is this? It is not canon.
This little scrawny kid running around with the sword of Tyrael. Can I go aggressive and kill him, please? Is that an option?
Nah, that won't be in the game until after the game's released.
Speaking of the game,
For that.
monster difficulty has been increased, and people in the beta have noticed. We've talked on this. Was it in the last patch notes or the patch notes before? I think.
I thought it was in 14.
Yeah, I believe so. But monster damage has been doubled, and people have been talking about it. They've been saying, "Hey, man, things seem a lot more difficult." We did get a blue response stating that the enemies are indeed a bit more difficult in normal difficulty now. And I believe it's across all difficulties. From what I understand, it was that the monster damage was doubled.
Good.
like across
Good.
the board.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because there were really a ton of complaints initially. The beta first came out and everyone was like, this is super easy. And the default statement was, all right, well, this is the first third of the first act in the first difficulty. So of course it's easy. But I suppose that Blizzard themselves even thought, man, you know what we initially rolled out with was even easier than this is supposed to be in terms of easiness. And so they decided to amp things up a little bit. And what that means for the later game, what that means for Inferno, that's obviously only going to be good things for hardcore gamers who want this to be crazy hard. Probably going to be a little frustrating for the casual gamer, but I guess the casual gamer probably doesn't care that much because they're, well, casual gamer. So
Probably won't even be doing Inferno.
right. I think I'm fine. I'm more than fine with it.
Yeah.
Difficult is better in my opinion. So it's a good thing. I mean, it doesn't seem crazy hard, but things are definitely hitting harder. I think that coupled with the fact that, and we have talked on this before, that coupled with the fact that they've kind of made it so that early game items aren't dropping as frequently or aren't as good. You can't craft nearly as much kind of overpowered stuff that you were able to before. Prior to the most recent beta patches, there was a ton of early game crafted gear that was crazy overpowered, but now you can't access most of it because of level restrictions. Specifically, like the Barbarian, there was a one-handed axe that was just super, super strong. You get like 30 plus DPS if you got certain attributes onto it, but it's no longer available. I think it's like at level 16 now. So, yeah, things are a little harder. That's good.
That I think might be the reason why, besides the change of difficulty, there really aren't very many major updates they can do at this point to the beta.
Yeah.
Because it's the same content, and I think that's what has a lot of people like sort of bored with that, and that's why you hear a lot more release the game rather than give me beta.
Yeah.
Because at this point, people have seen everything there is to see, and so they're kind of just in a holding pattern right now.
Sure.
Desperately wanting to kill things besides the same guys over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it also made me sad. I thought that would have been really awesome had they. Obviously, that's so super far out of the question now because they just the PvP system isn't going to be at launch. But like, were the PvP system still to be at launch, I thought it would have been awesome if they introduced just like low level arena. I thought that would have really. I mean, it would have added to the replayability of the beta. People would probably stay in it for much longer if they can get to level 13, try to max out their gear, and just PvP. Yeah. I would have.
Well, that was huge in Diablo 2. It was huge in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously became a lot bigger, but that was one of the fun things in D2 was low level dueling. It was like hit level 9 and then just max it out with whatever you can, but stay level 9.
And I mean, with that, I also figured that well, this might be something that Blizzard wants to do, because if they're truly trying to test their servers right now and stress and load and everything it can handle, then this would be great. If people are going to be playing all the time because they have access to the arena, and they can, and there's a lot of replayability in something like that, then there will always be lots of people on doing this. So it kind of made me sad that didn't happen. But
yeah.
I mean, I almost feel bad for Blizzard having to walk the tightrope thing, because when it comes to WoW, it's an MMO. So you can release a beta and release all the content because you have to test all the content, and there are going to be so many people playing it that you can release everything. And let's be honest, story-wise, people aren't really concerned about the WoW story too much.
No.
They're concerned about gameplay and mechanics and things like that. When it comes to StarCraft, all you had to do for that was just beta test PvP and all the different versions of that.
Right.
And you're good. And then when it comes to Diablo, the problem is that you have to beta test the online stuff without giving away the massive story that comes with the game. So I almost feel bad for them for that, because they have to work with what they can give people, and at the same time they can only give so much. So I understand.
Yeah, it is one thing. I do find this a little interesting though, because I can 100% see the argument if you look at like a single player game. Let's take a look at, although there's so much controversy around this franchise now, let's take a look at like Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 1. I'm not saying Mass Effect 3 because there's co-op in it, but I guess it's different. So we'll just say that. Let's think like if they were to beta test like game like Mass Effect 3, obviously they can't show the story because that's the type of game where a lot of people will play through once and that's it. I'm a little interested in something like Diablo 3. Sure, the story is huge and it's really big, but you play through it 100,000 million billion times. This isn't something that like you play through Diablo on normal mode once and you see the end of the story and you're like, well, that was great, guys. I'll see you later. Like, this is a game that you're going to keep playing through these 4 acts continuously throughout the career. It's not like a one and done type of deal. So, again, I understand why they want to protect their story, but I also seem like it kind of seems less valuable given how much it's going to be seen once the game is released. How often.
I almost disagree with you there. For me, it almost is like a one and done. Now, I mean, I play through it, and that's like the only time I'm really going to care about the story. You know, I'm going to play through it, and I'm like, wow, like, holy shit, this is crazy. I don't believe this just happened. This is intense. And then after that, like, I'll get to Nightmare, and I'm just going to play through the game. Like, it won't be anything cool. Like, I'm just going to play through, and it'll be done. And I'll play through Hell, and it'll be done. Like, I won't be looking forward to what's happening. I already know what's going to happen. At that point, I just want to hit level 60 so I can start doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly... like how long do you think it's going to take to get through normal, which in turn has you seeing the entire game? A day, 2 days,
15 hours, 20 hours.
I mean, that's I don't even
know.
know.
But at the same time, if you remember Diablo 2, when it comes to the actual playing through it, I remember vividly my first playthrough, like going through the desert and seeing the dude like wandering through the I was like, this is leading to some awesomeness. I cannot wait. And then the ending, I was like, this is the greatest game ever. Right? I was so excited. And then
just imagine the troll face whenever he does that.
and then immediately after it was over, when you start doing like hardcore online play, 90% of what you do is either keeping up with the person who's just like running through trying to grind stuff or trying to get past stuff as fast as you can to get to things you want to get to.
Yeah.
And so at that point, the story really doesn't matter, and you've sort of gone and I have a feeling that had they released everything early, a lot of people would be like that right off the bat. And so if you wanted to do online, like co-op play with some friends, you wouldn't take the time to stop and look at the story and appreciate it because you'd be pushing forward, and then your friends who were dragged along with you would totally miss out as well.
Sure.
So, and I mean, I'm on Blizzard's side with this one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not arguing that it's not important in that first gameplay, like that first playthrough experience is meant to be like really epic. But I think the thing I was trying to say is that a game like this that gets its campaign mode, we'll just call it like the campaign mode, acts 1 through 4, the falling of the star all the way to the end of the last act, where I don't know, what do we kill Tyrael or something stupid like that? Whatever's going to end up happening, that is going to be seen so many times. But you compare it to a game because there's a lot of games where people just play through the campaign once, but that's not the case in Diablo. You play through it a ton of times, and I guess when comparing it to that type of game, it should seem like the story should be kind of less sacred here because it's going to be so fluently seen after the first 2 days of someone playing and beating normal, But I mean, I certainly understand why that first playthrough, they want it to be kind of this grand experience that you're always going to remember. Like Jesse still remembers his first, D2 playthrough. So I can understand that. I think that this storyline isn't as sacred as those types of games where you do only play through the campaign one time. But I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I just some things just pop into my head and I talk about them. So it's. I
think there's a clear middle ground on this though, because you're right. There's games where, for example, story-driven RPGs like a Final Fantasy series or something like that,
or like Dragon Age or something. You play it once. You
play through it once, and then you just can't be bothered to play through it again. Like
right.
You saw the story, and maybe somewhere you're like, I'll try it again, and. That happens to me all the time. I'll play an RPG, and then years later go back to it like, oh, this is going to be great. And then like you get halfway through it, and you're just like, meh, I've beaten it. I know what happens. Like the drive to complete it isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And you're right, in Diablo 3, I'm pretty sure people are going to want to go through it more than once. I just think...
Well, especially because of the random events. I mean, after each consecutive playthrough, you're always going to be experiencing something new, which I guess I didn't mention before.
Yeah, but I mean, that's in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty insignificant. That's not like that's going to be like random dungeons and stuff.
Oh, well, if
which
that's
is
the case,
cool, but
you're still wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, Jesse. Sorry. Continue.
No. I just think I think we can agree that somewhere there's a happy middle.
And maybe the first third of the first act is the happy middle.
It's just made of rainbows and ponies and.
Yeah.
It's the scariest level in the game.
Did you guys see Baldur's Gate is getting remade? It's getting remade.
Yes.
Really?
They're rebooting a lot of franchises. Yeah.
I'm excited. Honestly, like I'm super stoked for the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. That's gonna be awesome.
And what's the other one with the spray paint and the things and the skates?
What?
Oh, brain, why aren't you working?
I can't think. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know
Dreamcast, and you rollerblade around and you spray paint walls to popular music of the day.
Never played it.
either.
Oh, my brain just died.
It's all right. Yeah, but
Someone will post it that they know what I'm talking about.
Someone
If they
can.
don't,
Death Jam or something like that?
no, Def Jam.
What?
That was basketball.
An idiot.
Was it really? No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
That was NBA Jam. What?
Def Jam was the rap. NBA Jam, whatever. NBA Def Jam, worst game ever. Just Shaquille O'Neal reciting poetry for 3.5 hours.
I wasn't thinking of Def Jam. I don't remember what the hell it's called.
Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu, greatest game ever.
I watched that crap. I can't believe it. A little bit of discussion taking place at the creation of the Diablo 3 opening cinematic over on Blizzard Insider number 43. It starts off the article mentioning obviously the game's coming out. We're so excited. We had the reveal at the Spike Video Game Awards show of the intro cinematic for the game. And this article, Blizzard Insider number 43, actually takes a look at the creation of that. They sit down and they talk with was it Nick Carpenter and Chris Thunig, something like that.
Just happy I didn't have to pronounce it.
And they basically talk about the creation process. They ask, kind of where do you guys start? Where do you get the basic outlines when you're starting to work up a new cinematic? And they talk about, they try to get a general feel. I guess it's like when you're writing anything. If you're writing a paper, you're like, all right, I want to hit these main points, and then let's kind of build around those pillars. Then they go into how do you take that idea and actually get it onto paper, and they talk about kind of storyboarding everything, and then it goes just through the whole process. One thing I found really interesting too, at the end of the article, they say, do you think that we'll ever see a full-length theatrical movie from Blizzard Cinematics? And Nick Carpenter responds with, if you look at the way Blizzard Cinematics have evolved over the years, it's a good guess that we're likely headed in that direction. We get this question a lot, and it's too early to tip our hands on anything specific, but for now, I can say that we definitely hear you. So, there's been a lot of discussion about, this article aside, I just want to talk about that. There's been so much discussion about, Blizzard needs to make a movie. They always have the greatest cinematics. I don't think there's really a question about that. There was so much discussion about, obviously, like, there being a World of Warcraft movie. That's, such a huge franchise, and it's still, even though it's falling out a little bit, and maybe we'll see a resurgence with Mr. Pandaria, it's still kind of so incredibly well known. It's the most played MMO right now, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty positive that that's the case with their 10 million billion, however many people it is.
And right now it's still considered. I mean, a lot of people have done like polls and different things, and no matter what, it's still considered the best MMO out there. I mean, for what you get. Unfortunately, for new MMOs, they're sort of in the everyone wants to play them because there's something new. But then when you realize that because they're so new, when you power your way to the end of the game, there's nothing there because it just came out, that people freak out and go back to WoW.
Yeah.
So.
And, I mean, everyone has their favorite franchise, and everyone would like to see a movie of that franchise. I think that all of them could make a great movie. I mean, I personally, I would watch any one, whether we look at the Warcraft universe, the StarCraft universe, or the Diablo universe. I think they all could kind of translate well.
The WoW movie was actually confirmed, but there was also, on the Legendary Pictures website, it said Diablo on there, and with, like the link to it was dead and everything, but it said Diablo, and that was like one of their upcoming movies, and then all of a sudden it just got removed, and they didn't say anything about it. That was back a little after they added the WoW movie to it, so just throwing that out there. I
want to just say, this is every once in a while I dispense my wisdom upon Blizzard. I'll do it again here.
Let's hear it. Dear
Blizzard, please, for the love of all that is holy, whichever evil three-headed god you worship over at Blizzard, whichever one that is, please don't make whatever movies you decide to make, if you decide to make movies, summaries of stories or things that are super, like you have to be really into the game. Because here's what video game movies end up being like. There's either one, they tried to go really broad and make it so it'll appeal to a mass audience, and no one likes it because it's so watered down, it's just complete garbage. Or two, they tried to make it really specific to get the fans behind it, and it makes no money, and we never see another one. Right? Those are the only two versions. And so I simply say, rather than make like, we're going to see Thrall go through a thing, in a WoW movie, why not make it about some random character who has nothing to do with the series, but is a good introduction to the series? So it appeals to a large audience, but at the same time, fans can relate to it.
So maybe if they made a Diablo movie, they could base it off of the the comic book series, the Sword of Justice comic book series.
And they can use Tyler Lautner, or whatever the hell his name is. It's not Tyler.
But make original story. That's the problem I have with game movies. They always try to do the M. Night Shyamalan of Avatar, when he took the entire first season and condensed it into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it was garbage, just complete garbage, right? Don't try to take your properties and condense them into something that you think people will want to see. Like, oh, I'm going to relive the story, but it'll be on the big screen. And oh my God, there's celebrities playing the characters I love. Like, no, no one likes that.
I mean, I do agree with that. It should. I disagree that it should just be something random. I do think it should be like one particular point in the storyline.
Well,
they should just play it.
Well, I'm saying if they pick a epic legendary moment in the story, they should cover it from a different angle.
Well, why not the one where Thrall is is born and he's held captive? Like, that's a good story that people will understand.
Right. I'm saying, like, at the same, for example, if they were to do a Diablo storyline, right, rather than have it be the guy, I'm trying to think of what the guy's name was, even though it would be a horrible movie, but this is just an example. The guy who was following
starts with an M. It's
Marius?
Yes.
Marius, yes. Like have the story be his side of the thing, like going around with fake Tyrael.
And that would be kind of good because they kind of did that with Diablo 2. I mean, it was we were looking from Marius's point of view as to how these events played out in the cinematics in between each act. So
and that was you following them in the wake of them coming through.
Right.
So I think like that kind of story would be really creative. Like they did a StarCraft property. You wouldn't cover Jim Raynor going around on a ship, but you might cover something else happening.
Because they haven't even done anything with that.
Yeah, like what Earth is doing during this entire thing, right? I mean, after the disastrous expeditionary fleet in Diablo 2,
Brood War,
in Brood Wars, that kind of stuff I think would be a terrific idea for a movie.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, somewhere some executives like, we have to include all of our characters so people know it's our game, and that's where it gets ruined.
I don't think I've ever seen a good video game movie.
Yeah, neither have I.
Or a movie based off of a franchise, a gaming franchise.
I will say I can't explain it, but for some reason the Resident Evil movies, which have nothing to do with the games, make bajillions of dollars.
Yeah. Probably because they have nothing to do with the games.
I mean, I think that, besides the random, like, oh, this character was in the game, or oh, look, this monster was in the game, they have nothing to do with the game, and they make a fortune. And so,
I wouldn't mind looking at Kate Beckinsale playing the female wizard. Like, that'd be awesome.
And I think it makes sense because we hold the franchises and the stories that we know in such high regard to these games that we love, that if they were to try to play off of that, it's almost guaranteed that our expectations would be let down, or what we perceived as them being would be let down. So if they take a different spin, at least they can make it its own thing that we don't have like preconceived notions of what it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You guys are geniuses.
And that also goes with book movies, right? The book movies that are based dead on the books are like almost 50-50 chance.
Right.
Where they are either going to be great or totally crappy. But the book movies that are adaptations are almost always good.
Sure.
Because they're adapted for the screen, not we're going to take the best moments from the book and try to put them together in some hodgepodge of a good movie.
trying to think.
That rarely works.
You know, I really enjoyed the Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park series, the books. And I really liked the first movie as well. And I'm trying to remember. Terrific. I think it was an adaptation. It wasn't full on.
Right, no. I remember being, because I was a really big fan of the first book.
Yeah.
And that was, I'm trying to think, that was like way early. I think that was like 7th grade or something.
It's a damn
maybe
good book,
6th
by the
grade.
way. If you're listening to this, I would suggest it. It's a really good book.
The very first Jurassic Park, terrific book. But the movie is definitely an adaptation because characters in that movie live when they die in the book.
Right.
And there's all sorts of different changes, and yeah, it's definitely a big deal. And I was really impressed that I still loved the movie, even though I was a hardcore fan of the book. And I think what happened is later on they were just like, we're going to take the property and just go crazy with it. And I believe Lost World was actually, I don't remember if it was close to the book or not.
It's been so long since.
But then again, I wasn't a fan of the movie. So
And considering I was in the womb when the book was released, I don't think I've ever read it.
Oh, you youngin'.
Oh, it's terrific. Great book.
Yeah, 1990. I literally was.
Yeah.
If anything, you have to read it to see the differences because it's so funny to see them justify characters living in the movie and then killing off other ones that died or that lived in the book just for the sake of like making the movie more entertaining, which is pretty terrific. So that's the kind of thing I'm saying is don't be so in love with your origin material that you can't change it to make something better, Blizzard. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my
guys.
god, speaking of origin material, did you guys see that Michael Bay is redoing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and then he's changing where they came from?
Someone needs to stop him. Someone needs to all I'm
Seriously,
saying
like,
is
they're
you
no
can't-
longer turtles that like fell in goo or ooze or whatever. Now they're aliens from outer space. They crashed on the Earth.
What
is
the
that?
heck?
No. Here's my problem. I need to know how he views Master Splinter. You can't have 4 turtles that that's their story is that these turtles are just like normal people. I mean, I like how I'm calling turtles normal people, mutant turtles normal people. But the background of the Ninja Turtles, because trust me, I'm an 80s child. This is my bread and butter right here. I had every action figure. The background of the Ninja Turtles is that even though they're freaking mutant Ninja Turtles, they're still teenage. And
Right.
And they're growing up and adapting, and that's why Michelangelo is party, get some pizza, and Raphael's an asshole, and Leo's like, I'll try to be a better leader, master. And you got the nerd Donatello. Like they're all they sum up like all the genres of like male, young boys in one sort of. But the thing is that they're growing up. That's the whole point. And Master Splinter is this guy who sort of keeps them in line. But where does the giant space rat come in to his thought process? You can't. I mean, seriously, is he going to say like, well, there's a planet that's only rats and only turtles, or maybe there's a planet that's rats and a planet that's turtles? Like, seriously, you're going to destroy it that much, you dick?
Don't do that, Blizzard. For the love of God, don't do it.
Yes.
Nephalem Valor. This is really exciting stuff. I was super stoked when they announced this system. The Nephalem Valor system, if you haven't already seen it, I think I've got a video on my channel that you guys can probably take a look at. But it's going to work like this. What happens is whenever you kill a pack of a rare or champion enemies, you're going to get a buff. It's called the Nephalem Valor buff. This buff will increase your chance of finding magical items or gold. And what happens then, if you ever decide to change a skill, swap a rune or a passive, leave the game, or die, the buff will disappear. Also, if you have this buff, in addition to the fact that you have increased magic and gold find, if you kill a boss with this buff, you'll receive extra loot drops from that boss. It's an unbelievable system. The general reason behind it is there's two big things. They're dropping this buff, which is a huge incentive, extra magic find and gold find, whenever we swap a skill, passive, or rune, because they want us to have some sort of, attachment to our build. They want us to pick a build and kind of stick with it. They don't want us swapping a build every time we come up to a new pack of enemies just to deal with those enemies. They want us to have a reason to keep them. And having this buff which disappears if you try to swap a skill will make us want to keep our build. Second reason is the extra bonuses to Magic and Gold Find and the extra drops from bosses. They're trying to make it so that we're not doing boss runs. So they don't want us running straight to an end boss and killing it off and just doing that over and over and over and over again, which is what happened in Diablo 2. So this is a great system. This is one that I'm really happy with, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. We'll start with you, Jesse. What do you think of the addition of this system? Like the reasons behind it, the way it's being implemented, everything like that.
I think it's probably one of the best things that they've added recently, because it does force you to, I mean, it doesn't force you. You could just, but if you really want to get the best possible outcome, you should be going around hunting different monsters and taking your time and exploring. And this is just an added thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And
it really
they're basically
incentivizes
saying,
it. That's the thing.
yeah, like we have a world. We spent a ton of time putting this game together. Explore it, enjoy it. We'll give you a reward for doing so. And I think on the forums, this total shout out to Ishiko on the forums, who said, "I approve this. This sounds like a great way to keep people playing in one game for a while instead of creating a new one every 5 minutes." That's right on.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened in Diablo 2, where just you'd go, you'd farm the one boss, recreate the game, go back, farm the boss. This time there'll be tons of games up, tons of people playing, and everyone's going to be going off trying to find these, random encounter, champion packs that are out there. So I think this is terrific. I love the idea.
Right. Kevin, overall, what do you think of the system?
I mean, and actually, let me just clear something up real quick. When you die, you don't lose it, at least not currently.
Oh. That would have made a lot of sense to me.
Tweeted saying that, at least I think it was Bashiak tweeting it, said that when you die, you don't lose it. At least that's currently, but they're still thinking about it because the repair costs are impactful enough, or something along those lines.
I guess that does make sense too, because again, the purpose behind this is to make us want to keep our builds and to not farm bosses. So if they punish us for dying as well, that kind of makes it so that's not really serving its whole purpose. So
right, exactly. And I don't know. I mean, for me, like, I saw this and I was like, yeah, that's certainly interesting. I just, like, I wasn't jumping for joy and I wasn't slamming my face in the desk. Like, it wasn't one way or the other. Like,
that's exactly what I did. I face to desk immediately.
I mean,
but out of joy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
I mean, oh man, that's funny. It's very clear to me that, they're just incentivizing not running bosses and sticking with the skills you choose. And for me, like, I was going to pick a build and I was going to stick with it. Like, I wasn't going to be flip-flopping every 5 minutes to fight different packs of monsters.
Yeah.
And I mean, on the one hand, yeah, it really does incentivize it and you get extra drops and whatever. But on the other hand, like, once you leave the game, you can just do whatever you want. So if I want to change my build, I do that right before I start playing. Like, I join a game, change the build, and then run through, and then leave, and then run through.
I think the biggest thing, though, is, like, they didn't want, because I think they were really concerned about, all right, we're at a boss, let's all get single target damage and debuffs, and now we're just grinding, so let's get a ton of AoE. I think they just wanted us to not swap every time we come up against a new obstacle that would be best suited with certain skills,
Yeah, okay, that is a good point, because, like, there's nothing wrong with me running through and, like, having an MF build or something along those lines, but I guess you're right. It's so that way they're not, like, swapping skills on the fly, like, here's a ice enchanted monster, let me go get my fire spells, or, something along those lines. That makes sense, but like I said, I mean, it's interesting. I don't really have much to say about it, which is weird because I have way too much to say about everything.
And I did want to add too, there was a whole dialogue between a bunch of the fan sites and Bashiak. We kind of swapping emails and stuff, and we got some questions answered. And actually, these questions were posted right on Diablo Fans. I don't have any place of my own to show you guys. So if you head on over to Diablo Fans, you can see some responses from Bashiak when it comes to the Nephalem Valor system. Just answering a few questions. First one was, when you say extra loot, do you mean extra loot, or do you mean extra loot that is on par with what elite/champions drop? I remember from the article before that bosses do not drop gear that is good as champions or elites, and he responded, they will drop gear as good as champions and elites with this buff, because you have to kill champions and elites to get it, which was the point. With the buff active, you're guaranteed one extra item drop from the boss, and it's likely that it'll be just one item per stack of the buff. So if you have a ton of stacks, you'll get a ton of extra items from the boss.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, also asked how many stacks. They said they're not sure of the exact number that they're going to have, but it'll probably be off of one hand. So, 5 stacks total, giving you 5 extra items per boss.
I demand like 20 stacks. You kill a boss,
I know.
It explodes in just random colors.
Yeah, I mean, and if that's the case, like, that would make me want to just sit there and like play through the entire game in one game,
And then farm all the bosses.
Right, exactly.
That'd be crazy. I think it's interesting though, because what'll happen is whatever they put the stack cap at, people will farm that many and then go straight to the boss.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe not, because your extra magic and gold fine applies to everything you kill.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe you still want to just clear everything because you have that extra bonus. And it was answered here. If we lose a buff when you die, it lasts through death currently, and we like it. I know some people also want it to be a punishment for death, but repair cost, yada, yada, yada.
Now, I do have a question that I guess I probably should have asked him in this email was, does this magic fine and gold fine go towards the party average or whatever, or is it me specifically?
Oh, you're asking me?
Well, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if either of you guys know. Because, I saw the whole thing, and he's asking for questions, and I just spaced.
There's one right here. Does the buff splits between players? Wow, nice English. Like someone joins after you've been killing and they have less stacks, it's a direct increase to your magic fine and gold fine, so it uses the same mechanics. So let's say, like, I've got 4 buffs, and then you or Jesse join my game and you have no buffs, that would be split with you. But while you're still playing with me, if we kill 4 more guys, you get the buff as well, and then that's split amongst everyone. He also mentions that there's a grace period after disconnects. If there's a time limit on the stacks, we're messing around with 15 minutes to an hour, so that means you can't just stack up and let your character sit there for 5 hours while you go take a nap or something, and then come back and hope it's still there.
So you would just stay in the same game.
Right, and it'll eventually dissipate. And then they asked if the stacks get removed after the boss fight, and it says we don't really think it needs to, which I kind of agree with. Now, everything here and everything we're talking about, this process is still being iterated upon. It's not 100% set in stone. This is exactly how Nephalem Valor is going to work. It could certainly change, and it is likely to change in some aspects for whatever reason. I'm like Jesse said, I am really excited for this. I think that this was a really good, because we were wondering how they were going to make us want to not just farm bosses. Because remember when they were talking about Inferno, and they said, all right, well, everything's the same level. Everything's got the same level across Inferno, and champions and rares have a chance to drop really good loot just like the bosses do. And that was kind of like, all right, so that kind of makes me want to search for them, but it's a lot easier. I know where the boss is. I just have to beeline it straight for him, and I'm guaranteed gear. Where if I kind of meander about and I hope to find elites and champions, maybe I'll get some gear, maybe I won't, maybe there won't be any, at all, and I'll have wasted all that time. I think this is a perfect way to make us want to play the entire axe and all of the levels, and not just hone in on one area of the game. I mean, I can't think of any better way that they could have done this, to be perfectly honest with you. And
Go ahead. It's interesting, and it's clearly like a cause and effect. Like, this is they're doing this in order to stop this, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
On a strictly lore note, I can't help but wonder if this does, or how it does, relate to the trying to think of what they were all called, all the different Nephilim who were in the Book of Cain. Like, there's this guy's in charge of wisdom, this guy's
Oh,
in
that was the
charge
Anchor's
of.
council. Yeah, that was the Angels.
Yeah. So I wonder how this, if it does, if or how it relates to the council, because they introduced, everyone knows Tyrael, but then in that book they introduced an entire group of them, and I was like, why introduce them unless it somehow plays a role in this game? Because when they introduced the demons, every one of those demons you've seen or know is going to be in this game.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe we'll get to see this Council of Angels, which then I'm like, well, now we have this Valor system. Maybe they're in some way related? I don't know. I have no clue.
And I'm just going to quickly throw out this spoiler alert. If you don't know, if you're just following Diablo, it is hugely speculated that one of the acts that we will be playing in will be heaven-based and will be fighting against angels.
Well, I don't think in the first game, and I was talking about this last night with a buddy of mine, there are supposed to be 2 expansions, and there will be Acts 5 and 6. So, I mean, I want to say, and actually, Ura is one of the places that will be in the expansions. That's like the gateway to heaven. So I want to say that, like, the first game will be on Sanctuary, and then the expansion, like, we'll go to hell, and then another expansion will go to heaven, or something along those lines. Or maybe we go to heaven, and then it follows up in the expansion. Yeah. Just,
and
I mean,
that's
yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things when they had the interviews going around about the Book of Cain. One of the questions I immediately asked, the answer you're going to get is like, I can't talk about that right now. But, I mean, one of the questions I had was, why introduce all this stuff in this book if it isn't going to play a role? Because a lot of it we haven't seen before, or it's rehashing of what the older books were talking about. But in this, they do talk about, like, they go in depth as to what the different levels of hell look like, and who controls them, and at the same time they talk about the different angels and who controls, and what they control, right? Yeah. And so it's almost like, why would you go into so much in-depth stuff if we'll never get to see this, unless they just are like doing it for flair and like, oh yeah, this is this big world. But at the same, I really hope that we do, because when they talk about the different levels of hell, they say like, this guy controls this one place that's all about, physical torture, but this one's all mental torture, right? And it's that kind of thing where it sounds, if those are expansions, that sounds terrific,
right? Yeah, and I mean
that completely.
And I'm just gonna throw this out there, like, heaven is not necessarily good, and hell is not necessarily bad. Like this is the whole thing about Diablo, that they're in an eternal conflict because one side's light, one side's dark, but neither side, like, we're not allowed to let either side win, and that's kind of where the Nephalem fall in. Like, the Necromancers were all about keeping that balance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, even if we fight the angels, it's not that they're necessarily bad. It's just that, we're doing it for survival.
I think that there's, like, innately people like, heaven is great and hell is bad, because that's, in our real life lore called the Bible. That's how it is, that's how things are played out. But the story of Diablo is that, there's heaven and hell, they're fighting, the Nephilim are created, and both heaven and hell are trying to be the guy in the van trying to give us candy, like, come fight for my side, little dude. like that's the basis of Diablo. That's the whole story there. So.
Right. And going back to the movie thing, that was kind of what I was hinting at earlier, where the Diablo lore is, this is not Earth. This is not the heaven and hell of, like, written documentation, like, of legend passed down. Like, this has nothing to do with anything we know or any beliefs people have. This is a totally different, completely unique scenario where, and so that, I think, would be almost impossible to try to introduce that concept in a movie without either, one, making it totally confusing, or two, pissing off just an entire group of people.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think the game aspect of it makes it unique, because most gamers are open-minded and not going to have a complete freak out when they're introduced to something new. And, let's be honest, a lot of the time, a lot of gamers are like, I cannot wait to go, like, kill that tentacle angel. It's going to be awesome.
Well, I mean, there's like a lot of conspiracy theories saying that Tyrael gets corrupt and we kill Tyrael and all that. So, I mean, obviously people want something along those lines.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think that's great. I think the exploration of both is... Yeah. I love that, because it's almost sort of a Dante's Inferno kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. That was awesome.
Right. Oh, high school English. All right. I talked about doing this in the past, and I'm going to try to make sure I stay on top of it for future DiabloCast. I really want to get into community stuff at the end of these before we answer questions. So we are doing it this week. I've got 2 things to show you, both of which I found through Reddit. Reddit.com/r/Diablo. This is a great place to stay up to date or just kind of chill out with the community. Go there and subscribe or whatever the heck you do in Reddit. I don't know. First thing I wanted to show you guys is a countdown widget for your website. If you have a website, this was posted up by Mr. Loki. It has a little embed code for it, and it's what I said it is. It's a countdown widget for the launch of the game. It looks something like this, and you can just throw it up on your website. It's got the number of days and hours left until launch, as well as a percentage. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last thing that I found on Reddit that I wanted to show to you guys was just nice little iPhone and iPod wallpapers that are available. I actually currently, before I saw this, I was just searching through one for my phone, and I currently have the Diablo background one there. But there's also one it looks like kind of like an embroidered book as well. And both of these can be found right on reddit.com/r/Diablo. I think they're both like either the top or really close to the top in terms of links right now. So go take a look at those. That was pretty awesome. I liked it. Thought it was cool.
I wish they made them for Droid.
Droids.
Android, I mean. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I had a Droid before my iPhone 4S, and my brand new friend, Suri. How you doing today, Suri?
So I have to ask, as a changed user, do you like that better than the Android phones?
Sorry, I'm afraid I can't answer that.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was perfect.
The craziest thing about that, and this is totally off topic, but I just want to point out for the record, Siri is insane.
Yeah.
Completely you would think that just because, like older technology, when you talk, you have to be like, Siri, where can I find really slow? But if you say that, it comes out as gobbledygook. Like, you have to be like, Siri, where can I find some sushi or something?
Yeah.
She's like, I have located 16. It's insane. I don't understand the algorithm they use. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool though. I'm really happy to see like stuff heading in this direction. My favorite part about this phone though is being able to send emails on the go by talking. And not, because sending an email on the phone is the most laborious thing in the world. No, it just takes forever on the phone. I don't mind sending an email, but it takes like half hour to type out, more than a paragraph on a phone. So
they have these things called computers now.
Yeah, but not when I'm on the go, Jesse. I'm a traveling man sometimes, and
they have this thing called laptops. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Too heavy.
They have these things called netbooks. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Netbooks are stupid.
Tablets.
Go on.
Yeah, tablet. We can just work our way down.
Tablet's the same issue though, because okay, whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Whatever. Does any of this even matter at all?
No, not really. The Diablo fans have left. They're like, well, this is stupid.
Yeah. But wait, we still have questions to answer. Diablo fans, don't leave quite yet. All right, let's take a look. Now, we do answer questions. I post up for questions on the Facebook fan page. You can find a link all over the place. If you head on to my website, there's a link to the Facebook page. If you go on the YouTube channel, there's a link to the Facebook page as well. All sorts of stuff here. Let's take a look. First question coming is the same question again. Do you have any plans of making more beta key giveaways? Or do you know if Blizzard has any plans of giving you some? Don't know about that, and I know Blizzard has plans to give away more keys, as we talked about at the beginning of the cast. But I don't know that. I don't even know if they're going to make any huge announcements anymore. They might just continuously be sending out waves. To be perfectly honest with you,
I would hope for one more trailer, one more really good trailer.
Where do you think? Where would this trailer fit in?
Not cinematics, gameplay-wise.
Right.
Like a gameplay trailer of showing us, not showing us, oh, this is what this character's ability can do, and oh, this is some class feature. I'm talking about like, just show us the game, show us some cool things that we'll see in the game,
at the very
get
least,
a little
there should be a
spoilery
launch
with
trailer,
it.
Right? Shouldn't there be a launch trailer?
There should be something that is not just a cinematic from the game, and not just we're gonna show you a cool magic skill or something, like something more substantial.
Yeah.
Then I'll be happy.
Yeah, that'd be good. We've been getting those skill videos, which are like mini trailers, because a lot of them have been showing new enemies and locations and stuff, which I've loved. I thought that was great. And I'm assuming they're going to fill up that list. They've been progressively adding, like in chunks, new videos. I assume they're going to fill that up before launch comes.
Well, yeah, and I almost want to say that the only reason why they're doing these videos is because they want to have them all on the skill pages. That way people know what everything's about. So this is kind of just like a twofold thing for them. Like, hey, let's fill out the website with more content. Oh, and we can also pretend it's for people to see. You know, like, this is a huge thing, and we're going to show people videos, and ironically, they're just going to all be on the skill page video, or the skill pages. I don't know.
Well, they're trying to make the website. They're doing this with all their franchises now. They're trying to, like, honestly, it seems like they're trying to almost replace fan sites for certain things.
Yeah.
Because they have like a whole, it literally, like, everything's categorized, all the abilities and the instances and everything. They have everything now.
I mean, I just wish I could go to cryogenics for like the next month and a half.
What is that? That is
Okay.
completely...
Okay, Cartman.
I know. That's probably one of the greatest episodes of South Park, I'd have to say. Hi, Force. Do you know if European Diablo 3 players will get a 9-hour head start on the U.S. players like we had on Cataclysm launch? Or do you think
hate you!
it will be a global launch where all regions can log in at the same time? I initially heard that it was going to be a global launch, and so it'd be 12 midnight Pacific Standard Time. That's what I initially heard. I don't know, though.
That's a horrible global launch for some people. I'm trying to think of where... I guess there aren't
their
very
fault
many.
for not living in California.
No, that's still bad for people in California. It's still midnight. Usually it should be like 9 something.
Yeah.
Though it's crappy for people on the East Coast. That's 3 a.m.
Yeah,
so
but
they can go to sleep at like 6 p.m. the day before.
Honestly though, I don't like, because with the launch of the game, I don't know if I'm going to be streaming the game right away or something. Like, I don't know if that it affects me that much that I need to get the Diablo content up as soon as possible, because everyone who's interested is going to be playing.
Yeah.
And everyone who's interested is going to have, like, most channels are going to have stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Mists of Pandaria, where it's like everyone's going to get the beta eventually, and everyone who has a YouTube channel is going to saturate YouTube with footage. So, I mean, it's sort of one of those... Take your time, pick your content. Don't just be like, this is another playthrough. Because after a while, people will just be like, ugh, enough. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't care either way. Like for my sake, my plan for content coverage isn't going to be like, what the F is the point of covering the first hour anyways? It's been seen a billion times through the beta.
Right.
So my coverage plan actually is probably going to happen more in terms of late game stuff. I'll probably take an individual look at each of the boss fights or something, but
that'd be cool.
I don't care when it launches. Question from Alexander. I would like to know whether or not it has been confirmed if North American players will be able to withdraw money from their Blizzard currency account, otherwise known as selling Diablo items for real money and making a profit. So it works like this. You sell an item, and you have the choice of when the item sells if you want to put it into your Battle.net account or if you want to withdraw it right away for one item. And if you decide to put it in your Battle.net account, which would allow you to purchase things on the BNet system or buy items in the auction house, you can't then withdraw it from that account. But if you sell a great sword or something and you say like, oh, this thing is going to sell for like $200 and you decide I want to withdraw right away, you can. There will be transaction fees and you'll have to probably also pay a PayPal fee if you try to withdraw it, because it goes from the sale in the auction house to PayPal, and then withdrawing from PayPal is probably going to have a fee as well. So
let me say this right now. If you plan on doing something like this, start using PayPal for almost everything, like right now. And what will happen is eventually they'll stop charging that fee.
Yeah.
Like, because I use PayPal for almost everything. So now if I get money through PayPal, because especially for like voice work, a lot of companies pay through PayPal now if they're overseas. And so they'll send the money, and I don't get, I think it's like 2%, 4%, something they used to take off. Now they don't take off anything. So
nice. That's
like
good
the
to know.
more you use PayPal, they eventually remove that fee. So
I've also
keep that in mind.
I've also found with PayPal, when it comes from taking your PayPal account balance and transferring it to your bank account, the more often you do that, the quicker it happens.
Right, yeah.
Like when I first started getting paid for all this YouTube stuff, if I'd get my PayPal account, I'd get my PayPal payment monthly, and then when I tried to withdraw it, it took like 3 to 5 days. But now it happens like in a day and a half, and my money's right in my bank account. So
interesting.
it's one of those things
PayPal's
where like
actually, they've gotten really good at that.
Yeah.
Plus, banks are now a lot more likely to accept PayPal payments faster because they know that PayPal's an actual pretty legitimate source of money and income. So they don't expect them, because it used to be like, who is PayPal and why are we getting this? And you get calls like, "What is this a thing?" Like, yes. So, the more you use PayPal, eventually it'll go away. So that fee will be gone. But if you're just starting out with PayPal, pretty much go verify everything. Like once you start, you can use it, but there's all these different options in there and verifications of address and
cell phone,
bank account. Like verify everything, because it's gonna say not verified or this address is. Make sure everything's verified. Like, go through it, because what's going to happen is if you don't have that done, Blizzard will charge you a fee to take the money out. So let's say you make $100, and I don't know what Blizzard's fee is. I think it's 6%. They said something like that. So that's $6 gone, and then another 4 to 6 from PayPal. So if you make 100, you're walking away with $88, $90. Still not bad, but I mean, it's a chunk of change. I mean, that's $10 to $12 that you could have spent on something nice.
Yeah.
So, just plan ahead if you're going to be a seller.
Plan ahead in life in general. Words of wisdom from DiabloCast.
Pretty decent advice. Yeah.
All right.
Lifecast.
I got one more question, unless you guys have any other after this. Last question I'm going to be fielding is from Wesley, asking, now that the game is finally coming out, do you think that they have stooped so low about DLC, referring to already in the works for for other DLC-like things? Okay, so he's basically asking, well, if the game's pretty much finished right now, do you think Blizzard's working on DLC? I don't expect DLC for this game. I just expect expansions or patches.
Yeah.
It's not. This isn't really the type of game. This isn't like the Mass Effect 3 fiasco. It's most likely just going to be regular content patches consistently, to add various features or bug fixes or tweaks, and then we'll get an expansion like in a year and a half, probably more like a year and a half after release.
Yeah, Blizzard has never been big on. I think they even said this at one of the BlizzCons during one of the panels. They aren't big on the concept of DLC.
I mean,
right? They're just big on charging you for using an auction house.
Yeah. I mean, they go about it differently. I mean, there's still companies, so they're trying to make money.
Oh,
but
of course, yeah.
They don't. I think I'm trying to remember what the exact quote was, but it's something along the lines of, once you buy the game, the responsibility is on them to keep it interesting and updated, and after that point, after you buy the initial game, the next bit of content they give you should be big enough to justify paying, over $10 for it, and everything should be in the game already. So, like, I'm gonna get my awesome BFG gun, right? But I have to download it, and it's gonna cost me $3.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think the idea was we'd rather it be a random drop and hard to find than you paying for it. But at the same time, they're more than willing to sell you like Tyrael's charger, or
I personally am happier with this system where it comes to like actual physical content or new areas and stuff like that. With the exception of big expansions, they're just going to patch that. Like, I'd much rather have this than have to pay for a DLC that's going to give me a new axe for my barbarian or something.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I would.
But I guess when you think about it, the expansions themselves they're like, that's original DLC.
Yeah.
Except you bought it in a box.
Right.
I mean, the only difference is that you're not downloading it. I mean, I guess you could consider it now DLC. Like, the next expansion, most people will just download it. So it probably would be under downloadable content, but
I think it's just a matter of perception. I think there's just a really negative connotation behind DLC, especially like day one DLC or something ridiculous like that.
That's garbage. That's along the lines of, if you buy enough Mountain Dew, we'll give you extra experience.
Yeah, Call of Duty, right?
Really? Are you kidding me?
The greatest advertising campaign ever. We'll make you unhealthy.
We'll get you double EXP.
Yeah. Sit on your ass longer and get double XP. So you want to sit on your ass longer.
It almost makes you wonder, Like, what just executives and guys in like a marketing boardroom are like, I have a great idea. Seriously, guys?
Yeah, yep. This was a great episode of DiabloCast. Might be one of the best yet.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one.
I think so.
And it was episode 50, so we definitely set a benchmark.
Episode 50, that's right.
Oh.
Woo! Party!
Yeah.
50 episodes. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Another 50 more. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, here's to another 50 more.
Yeah.
The anniversary.
Episode 100 will be a like a look back.
Yeah.
At Diablo 3.
I hate those. I hate recap episodes of anything. I think it's stupid. Like, why? I don't want you to talk about the past year. Every time I see a recap
Next episode,
podcast,
a recap episode of this episode.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Like last week.
The worst are TV recap episodes. It's just not.
Oh, and they always do them before a series finale. So you have to sit there and watch the hour before to relive the last 6 years, and then you're like, just get to the end of the show. Oh my god. Yeah.
Man. Thanks, guys, so much for watching this episode of DiabloCast. We will see you next week. I think next Friday will probably be the day we do it. I don't think I've got anything going on. So, yeah, thanks again. Been a lot of fun. Thanks to you, Jesse and Kevin. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Adios.
I don't think I got anything funny today.
So Jesse's just gonna make noises.
Yeah, we can just have Jesse grunt. That'll be the end of it.
I thought that's what you were doing. You went. I thought we were grunting. We're having a grunt off.
Can't take it. I'm cutting it. Bye, guys. That's funny.